Talk Show.
Recorded live.
Welcome, everyone. This is Barbara Sadtler, and I'm the author of the MayanCross.com website and also moderator for our Mayan Cross Community Calls. And we'll be meeting like this virtually every 13 days throughout this 260-day cycle of the Mayan sacred calendar in 2013. We'll come for full circle on that around, I think the last date is November 21st. So we've got a full lineup of programs between now and then. And our purpose here is to deepen our understanding of the energies of the Cholki, or the Mayan sacred calendar, and work with them so that they can be applied in a modern context in our lives. And in this telewebcast series, we'll be working with a variety of people and formats and really do whatever it takes to be in flow and create what it is we're called to do in this venue. So today is Monday, April 1st in this hemisphere, this part of the world, and it's known in many countries as April Fool's Day, a day of trickery and jokes and funny business. And if you want a real grin today, go out and check the Wikipedia description of this day. I had no idea how widespread this concept of April Fools was around the world, nor did I have any idea how old this tradition is, this tradition of foolery. And to the Maya, this day could kind of carry a similar theme or a similar meaning, because to the Maya, it's a one crocodile day. And crocodile is translated as Imox, I-M-O-X, in the Maya Quiche language, and Imix, I-M-I-X, in the Yucatec Maya language. And I'll try to use Quiche because that's really the tradition from which I know the Mayan cross has stemmed. So just be advised, it's crocodile, Imox, or Imix. And the number one translates to Hun in the Maya Quiche language. And for me, there's a kind of lightness to crocodile days. I've been, using the calendar for a number of years now, and I always feel this kind of lightheartedness about this day. And those that I know that carry this energy also have a very unique and almost oblique sense of humor, which very, very much so strikes me as hilarious. This is also the first day of this 13-day cycle called the Trecena that's found in the Mayan sacred calendar. And this energy of Imox will influence the entire 13-day cycle that's before us. So in today's call, we're going to explore the significance of one crocodile, or one Imox, and explore how this day sign has personified itself in a very important Mayan elder whose name is Tata Pedro Cruz. And he's from San Pedro Laguna on Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, which is one of the more popular places to visit when you go to that country. And he, in my opinion, is one of the most illustrious and loving elders that I've had interaction with. And we're delighted and honored to have freelance artist Cassidy Rast with us here today. And she's been making a documentary film about Tata Pedro Cruz that's entitled Guatemaya. And also with us on the call, from what I gather, is, Jeff Grant is here with us, also who is a spiritually and technically gifted friend of ours who is helping us on the chat side of the call. as well as Worth, who was with us last week, or last 14 days ago, and she's with us as well. So before we get centered and light our candles for the virtual fire, what I'd like to do is open the lines, the chat lines and the phone lines, to ask for a little guidance from you folks. And in particular, if there's anything you need or want to know about one Imox, one crocodile, one Imix, this is a great time to let us know. So if you're on the phone lines, you're actually unmuted. So you could speak as you are called. And Jeff and I will kind of take notes about what it is that you in particular want to make sure that we cover. If you have questions or comments about related topics, but not specific topics, such as the Mayan Cross website in general, Mayan calendars in general, we'd love to answer these questions, but I'd like to do that in an offline mode, taking it into email, the world of email, so that we can stay focused on one Imox today. So is there anything that strikes your fancy in terms of, question that's been, coming up for you in terms of the energy of Imox or the energy of the numeral 1? And I invite those people that don't often speak not to be shy, because in this venue there's no such thing as a ridiculous question in a tank like the one that we're creating here. So feel free. Recognize that you have a lot to say.
We have a user in the chat, 88 Hertz, that is asking, how is Imox modified by the different numbers in the sequence? So from like today being a 1 to a 13, like every other number, it grows in intensity. Even numbers are more balanced. Odd numbers are sometimes interpreted as more chaotic, but there's more change that's usually absorbed.
Yeah, I'll answer that too. I think you really have to be observant of what the numbers mean to you. I mean, there are a lot of labels that have been put out there, mostly by Westerners. A little bit. There are a couple of bodies of work out there that have played around with the numbers, but when it comes to the numerals, I think that's one area where you really have to be observant in terms of what it means to you. And I'll give you an example of this. A lot of people would say that the higher the number, the more intense it is. And the lower numbers, like a 1, would be less intense, or moderated types of energy. However, my observations don't prove that out. So it may be that way for some people, but for me, not. I mean, I know a number of people that carry those 1, 2, 3, 4, or first numbers in the wave that are very intense and very extreme, even. So I think you really have to. And I'll also mention that a lot of the Maya really don't translate those numbers into meaning something. For example, in Carlos Barrios' book, The Book of Destiny, he doesn't go into it, nor do a lot of other people who have written about the Mayan calendar. So I just like to put that out as advisement. You really want to be careful not to get into labeling or kind of stereotypical modes on these things, but just be aware of them, but also be keenly aware of what you're sensing about those numerals as well. How's that for a vague answer?
Well, I can sum it up. Maybe there's a way I understand what you were saying, and that's that the number part of it makes it highly relative to the person. It's very much up to the individual to interpret that and to see the patterns in that. Whereas the sign, the day sign, you'll see a lot of similarities between people who share day signs. The numbers being growing in intensity is one pattern that's experienced by a lot of people and shared by a lot of people, but it's much more maybe relative to the sign.
Yeah, and even there, you really have to tap into your own experience, and that's one of the major themes that I have with the work with the Mayan Cross. Is be advised of what others are saying about these things, but know that every soul is unique and unrepeatable, and your experience of other energies is also going to be unique and unrepeatable. So we have one other person, I think, by phone that wants to ask a question about...
Hi.
Hello?
Hi. Hi. My name is Eagle Solomon. I'm speaking from Israel.
Okay.
And,
good day.
Hi. Good afternoon. I write the Another Time blog, and that's how I got to you. Anyway, my question is, my birthday is on this Trecena. Now, 2 weeks ago, I had a reading with Ken Johnson, and he told me that when they do reading down in Momostenango, they don't really take the Trecena into account. So my question would be, what's your take on that? Because from my experience, I feel a lot of connection and affinity to people born on my Trecena, and I think that the Trecena does play a part, but I'd like to hear your take on that. Thanks.
Yeah, I would agree with Kenneth. In terms of the use of the concept of Trecena, at least in Guatemala, I can't really speak that well towards how the Maya in the Yucatec area, but the peninsula of in southern Mexico, I can't really speak to how they use it. It's there. It's logical. It's that it would influence the cycle, but we don't see a lot of the elders in Guatemala making that big of a deal out of it. However, it does influence the cycle, and if you create an intention around, you have awareness of the first day of it, and create an intention for the cycle, it's certainly going to be a part of your reality. You're going to be resonating more with it than you would be if you didn't have an intention or a thought form around it, right?
Yeah, I see.
So, again, this kind of goes back to what, how Jeff and I were trying to answer the first question. We Westerners are really trying to, get our arms around this kind of cosmology. And it's so much based, I believe, in your experience of the energies, of your, and experience to me, my dad used to tell me, it's not just the best teacher. At the end of the day, it's like the only teacher. I mean, that's your reality, and that's the reality that you are weaving.
Okay, so just to follow up, if you could say a few words, anytime down the line, about the birthday and what else to say about it, around it, that will be fine. Great, thank you.
And which birthday are you talking about? The Mayan birthday?
Yeah. I was born 8 Lamat, so it's coming up, and it's around this time when I get in tune with another cycle, so that's why I'm asking about it.
Okay. Okay, let's see if we can weave that in as we go through our material for Imox. Mm-hmm. And if we don't, can you type into the chat, Eagle, about what your email address is?
Sure.
So I can be sure and get back to you if we don't have time to go into that one.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks. If there are any other questions, let's see if we can weave them into the content that we have planned for today, especially with Cassidy. And I really appreciate that you folks asked what was on your mind. And Jeff, you're documenting whatever comes up through the chat, so really appreciate that too.
Yeah,
so let's now begin centering ourselves. Let's create our sacred circle and light your candle or candles. And let's begin to really tap into feeling that light and warmth inside you, inside all of us, and around our planet. And even if you're listening later to this telewebcast, you will be connecting in, because this is time-space independent, what it is that we're creating. So if you'd like to sit tall, feel your spine, quiet your mind, feel your breath naturally, organically, coming and going, in and out through your nostrils. And just do this, please, for a moment or so until you feel that we are in sync with the in and out breath of the universe. And begin to notice the qualities of this moment in time. Feeling the energy of this day in and around you. And take another moment to drink this in gratitude, with awareness. In our hearts. Okay. Beautiful. And Cassidy, I think you're still here. If you can unmute yourself by pressing *6, I'd like to take a moment and introduce you and let everyone know how special you are and why I asked you to talk with us today about one Imox. Cassidy is a filmmaker. Her education and background is in acting, theater, production, and also not-for-profit organizations. And her work has been leading her all over the world in search of meaningful content. Her focus has been on the journey, not the job. And she began asking herself at about the age of 23 if she could do her work entirely from her heart, trusting that the means will come only if she does that. And integrity is key for her. And she knew that by the time she found herself, I guess it was around in 2008, in San Pedro Laguna, Guatemala. She was on her way back from a project she was working on in the Amazon. But let's ask her to tell us the rest. Cassidy, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Just press *6. Okay, I'm going to unmute everybody. Cassidy, are you there?
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay, I unmuted everybody. So the lines are nice and quiet, though. So we'll just go with how we are right now. So, Cassidy, can you explain to us how you came to know Tata Pedro, and a little bit more about him as a person that carries this energy of one Imox?
Yes. I've had the very fortunate opportunity of working with Tata for the last, now it's just a little over 4 years. I first got to know him in 2008 during the ceremonies of Wayeb. And it was a really powerful experience. I was there with my best friend Whitney, and we were pretty much invited to be at these ceremonies by chance, really, just to kind of keep the story short. And we ended up on this mountain, and some of the other elders, and also a couple of the local people who were also foreigners. And my first experience in a ceremony, I really had some strong visions about, worlds coming together, and I don't know, it really touched my heart, and took the next week to partake in the Wayeb and really use that time to focus on healing some deep wounds within myself, and also learning through the wisdom that they were sharing in the circle. And for me, what was most amazing was that at night there were foreigners from all over that would show up, and there was a group of people who were, in particular, really skeptical of what the elders were doing, and the ceremony hadn't started yet. And I said to them, hey, you showed up here, and you're saying that this is weird. I was like, you just took a boat, you climbed a mountain. I said, you're already here. I said, give it a chance. And by the end of that ceremony, they, alongside everybody else, they were all holding hands, completely dialed into the center of what the elders were saying and the universal message of the Maya, of, the 4 directions of honoring the earth, honoring myself and the community and family, and that everybody was connected. People from all over the world, all different, cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds. And I just said, wow, this is so amazing. And Tata was, one of the main elders leading those ceremonies. And I just said, who's telling the story? And long story short, I was told, well, if you're meant to be here and telling the story, you'll come back. So I came back about 7-8 months later after the Amazon. I got a call, and basically it was a student of Tata Pedro who I had met on that mountain, who Whitney and I both had met. And, he saw really the true amazingness and connectivity that was happening, and also the power of the elders coming together from these different lineages. I really want to pay respect to the elders who were doing this, because for the greater world audience to understand is fractured in many ways, and it's fractured between belief systems and things like that. And here you have them coming together, and it was through these ceremonies that they're starting to first heal kind of the fractures amongst their communities, and then also, share this wisdom for other people to learn from and come together, and it's really groundbreaking in the sense of, they're sharing something that's very sacred to them out with the world, and they've been persecuted for their beliefs, really since the time the conquistadors arrived, and so it was just really powerful. And through that week of Wayeb, something inside of me really changed, and it was just really magical. And before I go off into the greater story, I really want to make a comment about the 1 to the 13, because I can say it's taken me many years to just begin to understand the Mayan calendar, and I've been through so many ceremonies, and I can say that for myself, I'm not a person that really learns things through books, and that's why I think doing these active conversations are really good. And how I learned about the Mayan calendar was actually through ceremony, and the Maya in their ceremonies, they count 13. So when every Nawal is called out, and they count 13.
It's referred to as doing the count.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important too. What I've heard through different elders that I've worked with along the way is that the numbers can also represent either like the masculine or the feminine quality within yourself. Also, they say that 1 can be equal to 13, that each number has a pair, and 2 is, the mirror of 12, vice versa, 3 to 11, 4 to 10, 5 to 9 to 8, and then 7 is what sits on its own. And I could be wrong or not, but I thought that they were also interrelated to the structure in which the pyramids were built as well. And 13. It's
the number 13 is the number of levels of the upper world. The number 9 is the number of levels of the underworld. So it's like in the shape of a pyramid, the first step would be number 1. The top of the pyramid step would be number 7, and then the bottom would be, the other side of the triangle would be number 13. But it's 7 that doesn't have a pair. All the others are paired.
Yes. Yes, that's right. So yeah, and
so it's really more than intensity. I mean, there are a lot of qualities that are inherent in the numerals. I think the way Ian Lungholt talked about them, he called them galactic tones. So when you hear tone, I mean, that kind of implies the richness that's there for us to explore when we're getting to know the different numbers. So I have a question. You've been around the fire with the elders a lot. You've watched Tata Pedro with in that context. what have you learned about him and therefore one Imox? What have you noticed? The way he works with the fire, the way he works in ceremony, that seems so special about him and this energy.
Well, I would say, really just him as a whole person is so magical, and as I get to know him more and really investigate his life and his past history and also his current path, and I really learned. I really feel like Tata is the embodiment of a strong warrior spirit met by very gentle humility and grace and beauty, and he really has been one of my greatest teachers. And I would say that what I've noticed is just from other elders from other cultures around the world who have met him, they all say they all love him. Sometimes, when you get a lot of leaders in one place, they don't all get along. And he really, he really gets along with all of these different cultural leaders all over the world. And like right there, that's such a testament of his character. And what I learned through investigating his story is from the time he was a young child, he became aware of his energy as a Moj, and he actually learned about his energy from the local Mayan daykeeper in his area where he grew up, which is in Lake Atitlan, as you said earlier. And he gave him his energy, and he told him, what his mission would be in life. He said, your job here is really to work with dreams, to interpret dreams, to have dreams, and to also help guide other people, along their path. And I really want the world to know that this is something that's really remarkable that's happening in the sense of the spirituality coming out of these places. I've seen it happening all over the world in different cultures, and Tata is really a brave person, but also a visionary, which is something that a Moj carries, which is about being able to kind of see. And he really has seen since a young child about the power of connecting in with the energies and connecting in with dreams. And he really has been guided throughout his life, his dreams, and through dreams, and has been the one that people would go and commune with to have their dreams interpreted. And he, as a child, was the one who would gather all the dreams of the family and take them to be interpreted. And the thing is I know the greater world is starting to really wake up to the spirituality of the Maya, but it's so important to also realize, that their culture is at a major crossroads. And I think that also is representative of today in a sense, because things aren't always as they seem. And, Imox is also representative of volatility. It's the water. It can be, the calm lake, or it can be the fierce tides that come in really strongly. And, if we're going to, in the West, become more involved with the spirituality of the Maya, I think we also have to, get involved with preserving their great calendar and teachings, through helping to support their schools and things like that. And this has been one of Tata's dreams, because he came from a place where his culture was really unaccepted, and they've been labeled as devil worshippers and all those kinds of things. And the reality is that they're just honoring the earth. They're honoring what their great ancestors passed down to them. They're honoring a great ancestral lineage. And the crocodile, that's what that is as well. It's the crocodile is ancient. It's it's a lineage of the dinosaur in a way. And so I think on today, being one, one represents unity. It's also to 13, which is the ascension. And I think that today is a good day for, recognizing maybe the division inside of ourselves and trying to become more whole with that, recognizing the, kind of the dreams of our subconscious and of our conscious minds, and looking at first, ourselves as individuals. What are we dreaming of, and what is happening when we're sleeping, and then what's happening when we're awake, and our dreams that we see, are they really coming to life in our waking life? And then also looking at the greater global essence of humanity. What is the dream for humanity? What is the collective dream that we're all dreaming right now? And, how can we unify that vision of honoring each other, really respecting each other's rights, and, honoring all the, sorry, my cat was outside. And
a little distraction.
And, just honoring everything that is sacred, that is living, and inside of all of us, and also, within all these things that we say separate us. Really, today is really a day of looking at how can we unify, in ourselves,
mm-hmm.
and in a greater vision for the world, and I think just talking about it is starting to help,
mm-hmm.
and that's what Tata's mission really is on this planet, is he really believes the Mayan calendar has the power to get people to get back in sync with Mother Earth, with nature, with cycles. And, we're living right now on the Gregorian cycle, where we're very much just attuned with, a Monday through Friday work schedule. And, that's fine, but we're missing, a really key element of our humanity, which is connecting into nature. And people living in, the Western world, we've kind of broken that cycle. And, it's not about doing what anybody else does. And that's something that Tata is adamant about. It's like, you do what you do, and you are where you are, and your life is how it is, but at any moment, it only takes a moment to light a candle, or to think about the energy of the day, and to just become more present, become more aware with what is going on around you. And, that was what the ancients did. They really had the whole concept of as is above is below, and as is within is without. And, they guided the time. They watched how time moved, and then they listened to nature, and they listened to the feelings inside of themselves, and then they looked around the communities, and they saw what was happening, and then that's how they lived and mapped time. And we don't map time that way. We don't map time on feeling. We map it on, mechanical thinking, essentially. So, yeah.
Well, their concept of time and space is completely different. I mean, it's in a different dimension than the way our society operates. And I'd like to tell a little story about that. Tata was here doing a sacred tour in the Midwest last August and September, and he'll be back again this year. And he came to my house, and I have a fire circle in the back of my yard. And he, as soon as he drove up in the driveway, he walked out back, and he walked the property, and he made 3 circles counterclockwise around my fire circle, pulled out 4 little birthday cake candles, lit them, and did a ceremony. Just a little one, honoring the day. So that was one of my first interactions with him in this culture. And I'm like, this guy can do a ceremony. He can make a ritual anytime, any moment. He's prepared. He's got, every moment is sacred, and he is always able and willing to take the time to acknowledge that and make an offering. So several hours later, we were in the house, and he pointed to the fire circle outside the window, and he said, in Spanish, of course, what's the name of this? And he just pointed. But he said, what's the name of this place? Lugar, which is Spanish, means place. And I didn't know what he was referring to. And I'm like, well, is he looking for the name of my house or the name of my address or the town that we're in? Because he said lugar, and my mind went to this translation of place. And I was befuddled and, asking him in my broken Spanish, what that was. And then he points again and he said, no, it's Tres Canil, which is, Canil is the Mayan word for seed. And for a moment, my mind went to the place, because I knew the day was 3 Canil. And my mind went, no, that's not a place, that's a time. And then in a split second, I got it, that to him, place and time are the same thing. So he then bequeathed the name of my fire circle here. They would call that an altar. So my circle here is named 3 Canil. And just that the fact that time and place are identical in their whole view of the world is such a massive departure from the way we think about it in our society. It's astounding. But I also want to get to this whole notion, because we had talked about how misunderstood the day sign of crocodile or Imox is. And it has the rap, if you will, for being the day sign of the crazy people, the highly unusual people, the eccentrics. And when I first met Tata, I kind of came into the understanding of that day sign, like a lot of us do. And it had that moniker to it. And in my getting to know him individually, as well as, around the fire and with other elders, this man is, I don't perceive him as crazy at all, but I see him as the most loving, and the ability to bring that love out in others, as Cassidy stated. A lot of times when you're around a lot of other spiritual leaders, you'll see some of the egos appear. Not the case with him. And one of the things that I have found he does differently around the Mayan ceremony, the ceremonial fires, he has a drum, and he has a rattle, and he has a voice. And rather than talk about the Nawales, he'll sing and beat the drum and just totally shift the energy of the ceremony by doing that. Softening it, feeling coddled by it. And on occasion, I have heard him talk about various Nawales that have, a more common interpretation of being harsh or strong or, those kinds of qualities, more masculine tendencies. And when he talks about them, it's an entirely different story. And I find that as highly significant, and one of the reasons why I, like Cassidy mentioned, having these conversations about the Nawales and the numerals is so important because we're in a different place. We're in a sacred circle, and we're learning that the interpretations of each of these aspects of the 260 elements is very unique, very interpretive. It's very much like art. It's going to be an individual expression. It's going to be an individual experience. And he, just by being the way he is brings that out. And you mentioned also his destiny and how he knew this when he was younger. And on his Mayan cross, his destiny is 9 offering, 9 toch. How would you interpret that, Cassidy?
I would interpret it as the great gift that he is really giving to in sharing this, and there's it's one of those things where I feel like there's always within every Nawal you can be balanced or imbalanced. That's why it's take into account all the energies. And a really balanced mode like Tata, they are the healer as well. They're like the counselor. They're they're able to help other people find balance. And then because it does carry like a strong force with it, of course, if there is imbalance, then of course it can be, tumultuous and things like that. But I would say, just looking at Tata and looking at how he has really come into power of learning how to balance himself out and really embracing what it is inside of him, the gift that he was given. And, what his destiny is he's definitely on that path, he is, really giving a huge gift for humanity. And, he's working to leave behind something that can be carried out for generations to come. He has a school in Lake Otagon, Guatemala that is really, I see it's so important, and that's one of my goals is to help get people to support that, because it's, one of the only schools really teaching the counting, teaching the proper day keeping, and and he's basically leaving behind the ability for the great oral traditions of, you know, of their cosmology to be left behind for future generations to benefit. And, you know, he's also had the insight of how important it is to involve the greater world community. You know, one thing I've always really respected about him is he's always said, you know, he always says, you know, I am with, you know, nobody. You know, he's always said he's with the world, and he really sees and treats everybody with open arms and an open heart. And that is such a visionary thing, and I think that is something you really can only see in dreams, or have that come to you, where you can kind of transcend the borders of stereotypes, borders of those things. And, you know, especially when you come from a community where, you know, of fear, essentially, where your traditions have been cut, they've also been taken advantage of by the Western people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's important to look at. I mean, there's been a lot of people who have taken advantage of this information, and he still moves forward. You know, and the other elders that he works with, they still move forward in a knowing that, you know, that's a part of the cycle, you know, that the darkness will be there, but that in going through that, the light will live, and that in having the courage to share this with everybody. And it's a whole thing of teaching, because you figure they're still teaching back to their own culture how to retain the traditional counting, how to retain the traditional wisdom, because that's been broken through the 500 years of the conquest. And now there's also a whole nother level of education that needs to go on, of really teaching the Western world really about who they are as a people, you know, and that they still live every day in a real struggle. And, you know, but that through following the calendar, that helps get you through the struggle, you know, and everybody lives in their own struggle in some way. And, you know, but they're actually really at a crossroads of whether their culture is going to live or it's going to die. And I think that...
So one of the really cool things that I think he did when all the furor about 2012 was going on last year, you know, a lot of people would ask me, well, you know, what are the Maya? What's going on in Guatemala? What are the Maya doing? What are the Maya doing? Mm-hmm. And I thought Tata's response was one of the most powerful ones that I heard about. And what did he decide to do through 2012? Was walk all over the country, doing ceremony every 13 days. So our guests from Israel, you know, this is one way that I saw the concept of Trecena come into play, because they would do ceremony on the night of the 13, the numeral 13, and usher out that energy, and then the following morning they would do ceremony for the number 1 and whatever day sign it was. And they were all over the country, from my understanding. Isn't that right, Cassidy? And then he started traveling all over the world as well. And what do? They do ceremony. And what is offering? What is 9 offering, which is his mission on his Mayan Cross? It's making offerings. Toch. It's ceremony. And it's a 9 energy. You know, the energy of his destiny is a 9 offering. And that 9 energy is known as being a powerful feminine force. Even though it's a uneven number, it's still a very, very strong day for the Maya to do ceremony. And, you know, to me that really exemplifies someone who's really manifesting the energy of their mission, the energy of their destiny. And how old is he now? Probably, do you know, Cassidy, exactly?
Yeah, I think he's almost 70.
So he's been in this mission energy for a number of years now. So it's really flowering. And it's, you know, I don't think mission energy is something you just step automatically into. It feels to me, as an elder myself, I feel like that energy is something that you earn in order to make it flower. And it just feels like that, you know, that's what he is doing with that energy. And he's completely aligned with his Mayan Cross.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
He was just saying recently when I was visiting him over December, and you know, he was saying how you know, for the last 13 years he's been saying that the world was not going to end, you know, that none of that was going to happen, and you know, that's what he's been doing, is doing the ceremonies, you know, and that is what their whole culture is about, is honoring the earth, you know, honoring the sacred time, honoring those days. And I mean, I've never seen such an avid daykeeper, and he really upholds to that. He really walks in that path. And you know, I mean, I can say that just from having the fortunate opportunity of getting to share in his life, and we're up every morning with him, and you know, he's definitely, you know, I've seen him even in the last 4 years that I've been, you know, friends with him and working with him. You know, I've really seen him even step more into his mission, you know, and you know, and now he's really walking the path with the sacred fire, and it's not easy to hold space for the ceremony. You know, he's really lighting a fire for the whole world, and I really, I don't think people know unless, you know, unless you live, you know, in his daily. He's really committed to keeping that sacred fire alive, and you know, honoring the ancestors, and also in doing that, you know, he's not, you know, one thing he says is like he's not just lighting the fire for himself and his family and his community. You know, he's lighting the fire for the whole world. And this is Tata Pedro Cruz. I saw somebody just typed up on the chat they want to write.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in there right now. There you go.
Yeah, we're coming up to the top of the hour here, so we're gonna make it a wrap. If you have further questions about any of this information that we've covered today, or about the Mayan Cross or Mayan calendars in general, feel free to email me at mayancross@gmail.com. And I'm more than happy to cover as much as I can, or send you links so that you can continue to process this information. Cassidy has a Facebook page for the film Guatemaya. It's feel free to like that page, because that's where updates and dates in terms of screenings and where you can actually see the film are going to be posted probably first, right? And then I think we had on my Mayan Cross Facebook page, we had a link to the website for the film. What's the URL on that, Cassidy?
That is unityfilm.com, unity.film.com.
Okay. So that's a good place to find out a whole lot more about the film. And then our group will meet again on 1 Jaguar, which is 13 days hence. It's a Sunday, April 14th. And I'm just FYI, I've got a few people who carry the energy of Jaguar who are going to be on a panel discussion about this day sign. So if you're one of those people that carry that day sign and want to be involved at that kind of a level, feel free to email me at mayancross@gmail.com. And we'll see what happens with that format. Jaguars typically are very shy, so we'll see what happens. And let's just take a moment. Thanks so much to Cassidy for the work that you do, the heart that goes into it, and let's use this energy today of 1 Imox to help further unfold and propel your work out into the world. Running parallel, running right alongside the work of one of our favorite elders, Tata Pedro Cruz Garcia. And let's give thanks to Ahau, to the heart of the heavens, the heart of the earth, the heart of the wind, the heart of the fire, and the heart of the water for our dearest Imox. You, Imox, that subtlest of essence, who brings so much joy into our lives, who awakens our softness, same time keeping us on our toes with uniqueness and creative juice. You remind us to be free, and you remind us to walk in all worlds that are open to us. You are our blood, our fluids, and 85% of who we are. And we ask that we always have good, pure water to drink. And we promise to conserve and keep clean whatever water we do have and have access to. Matiosh Imox. And may this Trecena bring those April showers, bring the purification, bring the joy, bring the softness, bring the love. And as Cassidy suggested we do, during this Trecena, let's really pay attention to our dreams. Let them guide and instruct us through that influence of Imox. So take another big deep breath in. And let's radiate that life and love out. And honor each other. Find that inside smile. And carry it with you. Matiosh, everyone. Thank you for your love and your attention.
Matiosh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bless you, Cassidy, and bless all the work that you do. I know it's a lot of work.
And you too, and for creating this platform. It's wonderful, and thank you to everybody out there that's listening.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. It was great.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Worth. Thank you, everybody who called and emailed or chatted in. We will be in touch.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, we'll catch you in 13 days.
All right.
Thanks.
Adios.
Thank you.
Okay. Ending the call.